7 types of people. Stoicism warns us about avoid them. Who you choose to spend your time with shapes who you become. The ancient Stoics understood this fundamental truth thousands of years before modern psychology confirmed it. Your social circle directly impacts your character, your peace of mind, and ultimately your life. We're exploring the 7 types of people the Stoic philosophers explicitly warned us to avoid. These aren't just random opinions. They're insights from some of history's greatest thinkers who dedicated their lives to understanding human nature and the pursuit of a flourishing life. By the end of this video, you'll be able to identify these harmful personality types and understand why distancing yourself from them is crucial for your own well-being and growth. Before we begin, I want you to take a moment and think about the 5 people you spend the most time with. Now consider this quote from Seneca, one of Stoicism's greatest teachers. Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you are capable of improving. The process is a mutual one. Men learn as they teach. But what about the opposite? What about people who don't improve us, who actively harm our character, drain our energy, or lead us astray? The Stoics had plenty to say about them too. In fact, Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, wrote in his private journal, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." Not exactly optimistic, right? But there's profound wisdom behind his caution. Let's discover the 7 types of people the Stoics warned us about, and why you might want to reconsider their place in your life. Type 1, the complainer. If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it. And it is in your power to wipe out this judgment now. Marcus Aurelius. The first type of person Stoicism warns us about is the complainer. Someone who constantly focuses on problems without seeking solutions, who finds fault in everything, and who drains the energy from every room they enter. Epictetus, who began life as a slave and became one of history's greatest philosophers, noted, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." The chronic complainer believes they already know everything, mainly that life is unfair. People are against them, and nothing can be done about it. Why are complainers so dangerous to your well-being? First, complaining is contagious. Neurological research shows that repeated exposure to negative thinking actually reshapes your brain's neural pathways. When you regularly listen to complaints, your brain becomes more likely to generate negative thoughts too. Second, complainers reject personal responsibility, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. They see themselves as victims of circumstance rather than agents capable of change. Third, and perhaps most damaging, complainers waste the most precious resource, time. Every minute spent in circular. Complaints is a minute not spent improving yourself or the world around you. Stoic solution, the Stoics practiced what modern psychologists call cognitive distancing, the ability to step back from thoughts and evaluate them objectively. When dealing with complainers, ask yourself, are their complaints valid? Are they within their power to change? Are they seeking solutions or just attention? If someone in your life constantly complains without taking action, the Stoic approach isn't necessarily to cut them off entirely, but to limit exposure and redirect conversations toward constructive paths. As Seneca advised, associate with those who will make a better person of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. Type 2, the flatterer. It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. Marcus Aurelius. The second type to avoid is the flatterer, someone who uses excessive, insincere praise to manipulate others for personal gain. The Stoics were deeply suspicious of flattery. Epictetus warned his students, "If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, 'He was ignorant of my other faults,' else he would not have mentioned these alone." This isn't false modesty. It's recognizing that true growth comes from honest feedback, not empty praise. Why are flatterers so dangerous? First, they prevent genuine self-improvement. When surrounded by yes men who only tell you what you want to hear, you never confront your weaknesses or grow beyond them. Second, flatterers create false reality. Their constant praise distorts your self-perception and clouds your judgment. Third, flatterers rarely have your best interests at heart. Their praise usually serves their own agenda, not your well-being. In our social media age, this warning is more relevant than ever. We're surrounded by digital flatterers, likes, comments, and shallow affirmations that feed our ego but starve our character. Stoic solution. Seek truth-tellers, not ego-strokers. The Stoics advocated for surrounding yourself with those who care enough to tell you difficult truths. As Seneca said, the best service that can be rendered to a patient is to make him healthy. When you suspect flattery, ask yourself, would this person tell me if I were wrong? Do they ever disagree with me? Do they praise specific actions based on my values or offer generic compliments? Remember, those who truly care about your growth will sometimes tell you things that are uncomfortable to hear. Type 3, the envious. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. Marcus Aurelius. The third type to avoid is the envious person, someone consumed by jealousy of others' success, possessions, or qualities. The Stoics viewed envy as a particularly destructive emotion because it creates suffering from others. Good fortune. What kind of life can we build if we're pained rather than inspired by the success of others? Epictetus observed, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. The envious person hasn't learned this lesson. They measure themselves against others rather than against their own principles and progress. Why are envious people so harmful to have in your life? First, envy is contagious. Regular exposure to envy-filled perspectives warps your own value system, training you to focus on external measures of success rather than inner virtue. Second, envious people secretly, or not so secretly, hope for your failure. They view life as a zero-sum game where others' success diminishes their own worth. Third, the envious rarely celebrate your achievements, which deprives you of authentic connection and shared joy. Stoic solution. The Stoics practiced what they called the view from above, mentally zooming out to see your situation from a cosmic perspective. This exercise reveals how petty most comparisons truly are. When dealing with envious people, maintain perspective. Their jealousy says everything about their inner state and nothing about your worth. As Marcus Aurelius advised, be satisfied with even the smallest progress and treat the outcome of it all as unimportant. The most powerful antidote to envious people? Cultivate genuine joy in others' success, demonstrating by example that another's good fortune takes nothing from you. Type 4, the dishonest. No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. Seneca. The fourth type Stoicism warns against is the dishonest person, someone who consistently misrepresents reality, breaks commitments, or manipulates truth for personal advantage. The Stoics placed enormous value on integrity. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, never esteem anything as of advantage to you that will make you break your word or lose your self-respect. For the Stoics, honesty wasn't just a moral virtue, it was practical wisdom. Living truthfully simplifies life. By eliminating the cognitive burden of maintaining lies and the anxiety of potential exposure. Why are dishonest people so dangerous to your well-being? First, they corrupt your reality. When you can't trust what someone says, you waste energy separating fact from fiction rather than focusing on growth and virtue. Second, dishonesty is contagious. Research shows that exposure to unethical behavior makes observers more likely to act unethically themselves, a phenomenon psychologists call moral contagion. Third, dishonest people eventually betray trust. As Seneca observed, faithfulness is the most sacred good in the human heart. Stoic solution. The Stoics advocated for radical honesty, beginning with yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." When dealing with dishonest people, maintain your own commitment to truth while recognizing their statements require verification. Look at patterns of behavior rather than isolated incidents. Most importantly, remember that your integrity is non-negotiable. No relationship, opportunity, or temporary advantage is worth compromising your character. Type 5, the anger-prone. How much more harmful are the consequences of anger than the circumstances that arouse them in us? Marcus Aurelius. The fifth type to avoid is the anger-prone person, someone who frequently loses emotional control, overreacts to minor frustrations, or uses anger to manipulate others. The Stoics considered anger a form of temporary madness. Seneca devoted an entire book on anger to analyzing this destructive emotion, concluding, "No plague has cost the human race more." Why are anger-prone people so harmful to your well-being? First, anger is highly contagious. Neurological research shows that witnessing anger activates our brain's mirror neurons, making us more likely to feel angry ourselves. Second, chronic anger creates stress hormones that damage physical and mental health, not just for the angry person but for those around them. Third, anger-prone people make poor decisions. As Seneca noted, the greatest remedy for anger is delay. Someone who can't delay their response can't access their wisdom. Stoic solution. The Stoics practiced premeditation of adversity, mentally rehearsing challenging situations to prepare rational responses. When dealing with angry people, remind yourself that their anger reveals their lack of wisdom, not your lack of worth. As Epictetus advised, remember that it is not the one who has it in for you and insults you who does you harm, but rather it is your judgment about these things. You can't control others' emotions, but you can control your response. Set clear boundaries with anger-prone people. Explain calmly that you're willing to discuss issues when they can communicate respectfully. If they can't maintain composure, it's perfectly reasonable to distance yourself. Type 6, the inconsistent. If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. Seneca. The sixth type Stoicism warns against is the inconsistent person, someone who constantly shifts values, breaks commitments, or abandons paths before giving them a fair chance. The Stoics placed enormous value on consistency between beliefs and actions. They understood that true progress requires sustained effort in a clear direction. Epictetus taught, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." The inconsistent person never completes this process. They're constantly redefining themselves without the disciplined action necessary for transformation. Why are inconsistent people so dangerous to your well-being? First, they make unreliable partners in any endeavor. Their shifting priorities mean they rarely see things through to completion. Second, their inconstancy creates unnecessary chaos and complexity. Plans must be continually revised and expectations repeatedly adjusted. Third, and perhaps most subtly, inconsistent people model a mindset of perpetual dissatisfaction, always chasing the next thing rather than finding depth in sustained commitment. Stoic solution. The Stoics practiced what modern psychologists call values clarification, identifying core principles and aligning actions with them. When dealing with inconsistent people, maintain your own steadiness while recognizing that their reliability is limited. As Marcus Aurelius advised himself, be like the promontory against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it. This doesn't mean never changing course when wisdom dictates. It means making changes based on principle rather than momentary whim. Type 7. The value empty. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. The final type Stoicism warns against is the value empty person. Someone who lives without examined principles, who follows crowds rather than conviction, who pursues external validation rather than inner virtue. The Stoics believed that a life without examined values is hardly a human life at all. As Socrates, who heavily influenced Stoicism, famously said, The unexamined life is not worth living. Why are value-empty people so harmful to your well-being? First, they provide no meaningful challenge or growth. True friendship involves mutual improvement, which requires values to improve toward. Second, without stable values, their behavior becomes unpredictable, governed by circumstance rather than character. Third, and most importantly, empty values are contagious. Without realizing it, you begin adopting their external measures of success, their reactivity to trends, their emphasis on appearance over substance. Stoic solution. The Stoics practiced regular examination of their values through journaling, meditation, and dialogue with fellow philosophers. When dealing with value-empty people, maintain awareness of your own principles. As Epictetus advised, don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. Rather than preaching to value-empty people, demonstrate through your own life the power of living by principle. Conclusion. These 7 types, the complainer, the flatterer, the envious, the dishonest, the anger-prone, the inconsistent, and the value-empty, represent challenges to our own character development. The Stoics weren't suggesting we isolate ourselves or judge others harshly. Rather, they understood a profound truth. We become like those we spend time with. As Seneca wrote, associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you are capable of improving. The process is a mutual one. Men learn as they teach. This doesn't mean cutting people out of your life at the first sign of these traits. We all struggle with these tendencies at times. Instead, it means being strategic about who receives your most precious resource, your time and attention. Marcus Aurelius put it perfectly. The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing, in that it stands ready against the accidental and the unforeseen, and is not apt to fall. By being selective about our social circle, we create an environment that supports rather than undermines our best selves. Which of these 7 types have you encountered in your life? And more importantly, which of these tendencies might you need to address in yourself? Remember, the ultimate goal of Stoicism isn't to judge others, but to improve ourselves.